3 years ago, I planted an apple tree. Bare root, expensive cultivar, perfect southern exposure. I watered it through 2 brutal summers, pruned it by the book, built a deer cage with my own hands. Last September, it gave me 4 apples. 4. My neighbor planted a mulberry bush 18 months after my tree went in. That week, she filled 3 buckets while I stared at my pathetic harvest. You've done this math. You've waited years while nothing happened. Your neighbors are already canning. You're betting on the wrong plant. I taught biology for 30 years. I could draw photosynthesis on a blackboard with my eyes closed. But theory and practice grow in different soils. Here's what nobody tells you. Your apple tree needs 5 to 7 years. You're watering, pruning, hoping, while everyone else harvests. One late frost wipes out your whole year. But 9 bushes will change everything. They produce in 12 to 18 months. They yield 30 pounds per plant. For 30 years straight. That's what you're getting today. Let me tell you about the bush that changed everything for me. And it will change everything for you too. Serviceberries. You might call them Saskatoon berries or June berries. I call them the plant you should have started with 5 years ago. You've walked past them at every nursery without knowing what you were missing. I put in 3 serviceberry bushes my second spring. You know what I paid? $45 total. 13 months later, I picked my first handful. Sweet, almost almond-flavored, deep purple. You won't believe this, but I stood there in my garden holding berries while my apple tree was still making excuses. You're in the same position right now. Your trees are making excuses too. By year 3, those bushes gave me 42 pounds. You could fill your freezer with what 3 bushes produce. Your apple tree won't match that for another 4 years, if you're lucky. If frost doesn't hit. If disease doesn't strike. You're gambling every spring. Serviceberries are a sure thing. Here's what you need to understand about what you're planting. Serviceberries evolved in North America. They don't need you to baby them. They've survived without human help for thousands of years before you were born. Your serviceberries will handle -40 without any protection you provide. They'll tolerate your partial shade where your tomatoes fail. They're self-pollinating, so you don't need multiple varieties cluttering your space. Yes, the birds will try to steal them from you. You'll need netting. But that's a problem you want. It means you're actually growing food that everything in nature wants to eat. You get 20% more antioxidants than blueberries you buy at the store. You get iron, manganese, fiber, real nutrition your body has been missing. About 80 calories per cup of what you harvest. You're not growing snacks for your kids. You're growing survival food for your family. Plant them this spring before the ground warms up. You'll pick next June before your neighbors even flower. That's the shortcut you've been missing. But here's where your garden gets even better. Bush number 2 is going to blow your mind. Mulberries. You've probably ignored them your whole life. Someone told you they're messy. They stain driveways and sidewalks. You know what else stains? Purple gold. That's what you should call your mulberry harvest from now on. Those stains are the mark of abundance. I planted 1 dwarf mulberry in the worst corner of my yard. You know the spots I mean. Poor soil that nothing likes. Weird drainage that drowns everything. Too much aid from the garage casting shadows half the day. You couldn't pay me to put a tomato there. You have spots exactly like this too. You've given up on them years ago. I thought nothing would survive in that corner. You're wrong about your spots. Just like I was completely wrong about mine. 3 years later, that single plant gives me 60 to 80 pounds of berries every summer. You read that right, from 1 plant. In your worst spot, you're walking past your most productive square footage every single day without knowing it. Mulberries have the highest protein of any common berry you'll grow, 2 grams per cup. They're loaded with iron and vitamin C. Your body needs this. And here's what makes them perfect for your schedule. They fruit over 6 to 8 weeks. You're not buried in berries for 2 weeks like strawberries. You get fresh berries every morning, late June through August. Your breakfast routine changes forever. You walk outside, you pick, you eat. You want bush varieties? Look for dwarf everbearing, Girardi dwarf, or Isai.
Notice the difference here.
They stay
Dwarf
compact
mulberry
for
only
your
gets about
yard.
6 feet tall
You can
and
net
works
them against
perfectly.
birds. Standard mulberry trees get too tall for your space. But a mulberry bush fits that weird corner you've abandoned, and it feeds your whole family. I taught nitrogen fixation for 30 years. Never once planted a nitrogen fixer myself. You'll do better than I did. Third bush. And this one is about to unlock a part of your yard you've written off. Gooseberries. Before you skip this because you've never eaten one, you need to stop and listen. You're about to discover something that will change how you think about shade. Gooseberries grow where your other plants fail completely. Real shade that kills tomatoes. I have 4 bushes under an oak where nothing else survives. Not even weeds want that spot. Dappled light filtering through leaves, root competition stealing every nutrient. Dry soil that cracks in summer. Your absolute worst conditions that you've cursed for years. Those 4 bushes give me 20 pounds of fruit every July without complaint. You have spots like this in your yard. You've given up on them completely. You've been wrong about them this whole time. Fresh gooseberries are tart. You probably won't eat them straight off the bush. But here's what happens when you cook them. They transform completely. Gooseberry jam tastes like nothing you've experienced. Gooseberry pie, and I say this having grown up on apple pie my whole life, gooseberry pie is better. You'll agree. My wife agrees. Everyone who tries it agrees. Higher vitamin C than oranges. Significant fiber. Lower sugar than you'd expect. You're getting serious nutrition from your shade. They're cold hardy to zone 3, colder than most of you need. They fruit on year-old wood, so you get production by year 2. They're self-fertile, though 2 varieties give you more berries. Here's your only warning. Gooseberries have thorns, not gentle thorns. Defense system thorns. You'll wear gloves when you harvest, or you'll learn why I'm telling you this. Those thorns are your advantage. Deer won't touch them. Nothing will. They protect themselves while you sleep. My wife asked after our first harvest, why didn't we learn about these in school? I taught biology for 30 years. I didn't have a good answer for her. Now you know what she knows. 4th bush. This one's different from anything else you'll grow. You're about to become a soil scientist without trying. See buckthorn. It's not just food for you. It's building your soil every single day. Sea buckthorn pulls nitrogen from the air and deposits it around its roots. You know what that means for your garden. You plant it near your other bushes, and you're fertilizing for free. Forever. I have 2 sea buckthorn plants at the edge of my berry patch. I haven't added nitrogen fertilizer in 4 years. Your soil gets richer without your work. You're not just growing food, you're growing fertility. Your grandchildren will benefit from what you plant this spring. But here's why you'll really want it. The berries have the highest vitamin C of any temperate fruit, 10 times more than your oranges. You get omega fatty acids you almost never find in fruit. It's been traditional medicine in Russia and Mongolia for centuries. Your berries are small, tart, bright orange. They taste like citrus that wandered into the wrong climate and thrived anyway. You need this nutrition. You're not getting it anywhere else you grow. Here's your challenge. Sea buckthorn needs male and female plants. You need both for berries, 1 male for every 6 females. Your plants are incredibly tough. They handle coastal salt, extreme cold, drought, your worst soil. But you need both sexes within 50 feet. Plan for it. Harvest takes your work. The berries cling and burst. You'll freeze the branches and shake them off. It's more effort than your serviceberries. But the nutritional payoff you get is unmatched by anything else in your climate. 5th bush. This is my favorite discovery, and you've never heard of it. Jostaberry. It's a cross between blackcurrant and gooseberry. You get the best of both parents, plus surprises you won't expect. Your berries are larger than currants, sweeter than gooseberries. Here's what you'll love. The bushes are thornless. Unlike your gooseberries, you can harvest without gloves, without bleeding, without cursing. They produce heavily by year 3. My 2 bushes gave me 30 pounds last summer. Your fresh Jostaberries taste like sweeter black currant. Made into jam, they're exceptional. Deep purple, intense flavor, better than anything you'll buy. Here's why Jostaberry belongs in your garden right now. It resists powdery mildew that destroys regular gooseberries in humid climates. You've probably lost plants to mildew. Jostaberry won't let you down. It resists white pine blister rust that restricts currants in some states. You might not even be allowed to grow currants, but you can grow Jostaberry. It's more vigorous than either parent, less fussy, faster growing, harder for you to kill even if you try. Cold hardy to zone 3 for you northern growers. Self-fertile, but better with a pollinator nearby. Produces for 30 years, and almost nobody grows it. You'll be the neighbor with berries nobody recognizes. You'll bring them to gatherings, and people won't believe you grew them yourself. When I brought Jostaberries to a family barbecue, my brother-in-law asked where I bought them. I told him I grew them. He didn't believe me. Apparently, I don't look like someone who grows exotic berries. Fair point. 6th bush. Elderberries. This is your immune system in plant form. Elderberries have been used medicinally for thousands of years. You've probably seen elderberry syrup at the pharmacy for $20 a bottle. You can grow enough berries to make gallons of syrup for the cost of one plant. Your elderberry bush costs $15 to $20. It produces 10 to 15 pounds of berries per year by year 3. You're looking at hundreds of dollars worth of syrup from a single bush. Here's what you need to know about growing them. Elderberries are native to North America. They're tough as nails. Hardy to zone 3. They tolerate wet soil that would rot other berry plants. You have soggy spots? Plant elderberries there. They'll thrive where everything else drowns. The berries themselves must be cooked. Raw elderberries can cause stomach upset. But cooked into syrup, jam, or wine, they're exceptional. Deep purple, intensely flavored, packed with vitamins and antioxidants. Your immune system will thank you every winter. One important note: you need 2 different varieties for cross-pollination. Adams and Johns are classic pairing. Plant them within 50 feet of each other. By year 3, you'll have more elderberries than you know what to do with. That's the kind of problem you want. 7th bush. Cornelian cherry. Don't let the name fool you. This isn't a cherry at all. It's a dogwood that produces edible fruit. Cornelian cherry is one of the earliest producers in your garden. It blooms in late winter, February or March, before almost anything else. Yellow flowers cover the bush while snow is still on the ground. Your bees will thank you for the early food. Then in late summer, you get bright red olive-shaped fruits that taste like a mix of cherry and cranberry. Here's why you need this bush. It fills a gap in your harvest calendar. Most berries come in June, July, August. Cornelian cherry gives you fruit in August and September, extending your fresh harvest deeper into fall. The fruits are tart when fresh, perfect for preserves, sauces, and juice. In Eastern Europe, they've been cultivating these for centuries. The bush itself is stunning. It grows 10 to 15 feet tall, produces beautiful yellow flowers in late winter, and turns brilliant red in fall. You're getting ornamental value and food from the same plant. Most people see it and ask what it is. You'll tell them it's dinner. Cold hardy to zone 4. Tolerates partial shade. Produces for 50 years or more. Your grandchildren will harvest from the bush you plant this spring. 8th bush. Nanking cherry. You've been told your whole life that cherries are trees. You've been told wrong. Nanking cherry stays 6 to 10 feet tall and produces tart red cherries, hundreds of them, by year 2 or 3. You don't wait 7 years. You eat cherries in 2. I have 2 bushes flanking my garden entrance. Every May they're covered in white blossoms, the prettiest thing you'll see in your yard. Every July they're covered in cherries, the tastiest thing you'll grow. Your fruit is smaller than sweet cherries, closer to sour cherries in flavor. Perfect for your pies, your jams, your juice. And they're almost impossible to kill. Hardy to zone 2, drought tolerant once you establish them. They'll grow in your poor soil, your alkaline soil, your clay, soil that would murder a sweet cherry tree. You've been told nothing grows in your spots. You've been told wrong every time. Here's your practical advantage that changes everything. Nanking cherries bloom late, after most spring frosts pass. They actually produce reliably, year after year, in climates where your cherry trees fail every time. I've harvested every single year since planting. My neighbor's sweet cherry has produced twice in 7 years. Late frost killed everything else. You're tired of losing your crop to April freezes. Nanking cherries are your answer. You need 2 bushes for pollination. They won't fruit alone, but they're cheap, $10 to $15 each. You'll buy a pair and never think about expensive cherry trees again. 9th and final bush, Lingonberries. This is the Scandinavian secret you've been missing your whole gardening life. Lingonberries are what IKEA puts in those jars you ignore. They're what Swedish families have eaten with everything for centuries. And they grow where your other plants fail miserably. These are low ground cover bushes for you, 8 to 18 inches tall. They spread slowly. They produce small red berries twice per year. You get summer harvest and fall harvest, extending your season into October while everyone else is done. Your berries are tart, high in vitamin C, and they store without refrigeration for weeks. With your refrigerator, months. You're growing food that keeps itself fresh. They excel in your cold climate with your acid soil. If you can grow blueberries, acid, well-drained, your lingonberries will thrive. Hardy to zone 2 for you up north. They produce in your partial shade. They're evergreen, so your yard looks productive even in winter. You get beauty and food from the same plants. Your yield is lower, 2 to 3 pounds per plant, but your plants are small and cheap. You grow 20 in the space of 1 large bush. I planted lingonberries between my other bushes as ground cover. Now I have berries at knee height and berries at shoulder height. Your whole space produces. You're not wasting any ground. That's 9 bushes. But here's what matters for your life right now. You're watching this in spring. Perfect timing for you. What you plant in the next 60 days determines what you're eating 18 months from now. You're making that decision, whether you act or not. Your inaction is a decision too, and it costs you years you won't get back. Here's the first-year system that gives you harvest from May through October, starting next year. Plant 3 serviceberries first. They're your earliest harvest. You pick mid-June next year. $45 secures your June forever. Add 2 Nanking cherries. They bloom late, fruit early July. You're filling your first gap. 1 mulberry bush, dwarf variety. You get continuous production late June through August. This single plant might give you the best return of your life. 2 gooseberries for July. Put them where nothing else grows. You're finally using that shade you cursed. 1 Jostaberry. It overlaps your gooseberries, extends into August. You're building redundancy into your food supply. 2 elderberries for late summer syrup and immune support. Plant 2 different varieties for cross-pollination. 1 Cornelian cherry for August and September fruit. You're extending your harvest into fall. 2 C buckthorn, male and female. Nitrogen fixing plus late summer harvest. You're feeding your soil and yourself simultaneously. Lingonberries as your ground cover. They harvest twice, summer and fall, extending your season into October. You're not done when your neighbors finish. Your total cost, about $250 for 19 plants. Your total yield by year 3, 100 to 200 pounds of berries annually, for 30 years. You're investing $250 for 3 decades harvests. That's the math you should have been running all along. Compare that to your fruit trees. $300 for 3 trees. 5 to 7 years of waiting. 20 to 40 pounds per tree if nothing goes wrong for you. If frost doesn't hit your blossoms. If disease doesn't strike your leaves. The math isn't close. You've been comparing wrong your whole life. Here's what I wish someone had told me 5 years ago. The yield charts in your gardening catalogs aren't lying. They're incomplete. Yes, an apple tree can produce 200 pounds. Eventually means 7 years of your life. Can produce means if you get lucky. And 200 pounds in 1 week creates a processing nightmare you're not ready for. Your bushes spread your harvest. They start faster for you. They're easier for you to net, to prune, to protect. They keep producing through your mistakes, and you're going to make mistakes. I made all of them so you don't have to. My first gooseberry died because I planted it in full sun and forgot to water through a July drought. Lesson: your gooseberries prefer shade and consistent moisture. Now you know and won't repeat my mistake. My first mulberry produced nothing for 2 years. I'd bought a male plant by mistake without checking. Lesson: check your labels twice before you pay. Now you know. My first sea buckthorn gave 0 berry for 3 straight years because I only planted 1. Lesson: dioecious means you need a pair or you get nothing. Now you know everything I learned the hard way. Every failure taught me what my textbooks mentioned but never made real for me. Theory without practice is just words on a page. I had 30 years of words in my head. Now I have bushes in my yard. You can skip every single one of my mistakes because you watch this. Your garden isn't a test you can study for like my students tried to do. It's a lab where you experiment with living things. You try things every season. Some fail spectacularly. Some succeed beyond what you ever expected. The serviceberries I planted as a small experiment are now my most productive square footage in the whole yard. The apple tree I planned so carefully and invested so much hope in is still making excuses 3 years later. Stop waiting for your trees to mature. You're wasting your best gardening years. Stop betting your time on 7-year timelines that might never pay off. Start with bushes instead. Start this weekend, before the nurseries sell out. Your future self is eating berries you haven't planted yet. Your future self is canning harvests you haven't grown yet. The garden teaches better than any textbook I ever wrote on a blackboard. It just grades differently in berries and harvests, not percentages and letter grades. And that's the only grading system that actually feeds your family.